Hi all, welcome back. So today I will be continuing with the topic controlling, which is one of the functions of management. So let's see a figure. So we have learned about the different types of controlling. The first type is feed forward control, which will be applied at the input part of the system, and then we have seen the concurrent controlling, which is applied at the process stage, and then the feedback control, which will be applied at the output stage of the management levels, or you can say the organization stages. Okay, now this is a figure which shows the comparison between the feedback control and feed forward control. So you can see here the three stages are shown here: input stage, process stage, and output stage. I mentioned in the previous lecture that inputs represents the three different types of resources that are needed for any organization. So they are cost, then the raw materials, and then the third key resource is human resources. So for producing any product, we need to have these three resources mainly. So at the input stage, we will be applying this feed forward control. So that is, we are trying to regulate the inputs in such a way that there will not be any problem in the process stage. Okay, so we will be looking forward, looking for any possible problems that might arise at the process stage, and we are finding a solution here itself, and we try to solve that so that that problem won't arise at the process stage. So that is why feed forward block is kind of shown here itself at the input side. So depending on the inputs, we are considering what are the inputs we are giving, and if we are giving these inputs, what are the, will it run smoothly or will there be any problem? So we are studying that. Based on that, we will try to regulate the input, and also based on the studies conducted or the controlling, we are giving inputs to the process stage also, so that once these are given, there won't be any problem in the production of the product. So you can see the arrow here from inputs. You are giving the inputs to process, and after processing, you get the output. Once you get the output, you will test that what is your expectation. So is your output up to the mark? Okay, or is there any problem with the output? So we are testing here. If there is a problem, then you are taking the feedback, and based on the feedback, you will pass information to both inputs and the process, so that that same problem will not arise in the next cycle. So that is feedback control. This is feed forward control. It is connected to input, this is connected to output. This again is another figure with which shows the difference between the various controlling: feed forward, concurrent, and feedback. Now this is a figure which shows the feedback loop of management control. So what are the various steps in feedback looping or feedback systems? So first is, you have a desired performance. You desire something, you want to manufacture something, so you will write your standard. What is your standard? Okay, based on the standard, you will measure the performance, actual performance. So difference between, so actual performance, and then you are measuring, you are looking at the actual performance, then you are measuring the actual performance, then you are taking the difference between actual performance and the standard, and the difference is given as the deviation, and the deviation is analyzed, and what is the problem behind the deviation, and you are applying a corrective action for the deviation, and then in the future cycles you will be implementing those corrections, so that we will get the output as we as our standard is. Okay, so that is the feedback loop. So what is the main difference? Feedback will be taken only at the final stage. Feed forward will be taken at the initial stage. Now let's see the requirements for effective control. So three types of controls are there. Whichever control you are choosing, there are certain requirements in order to control effectively. So there are 8 requirements for effective control. First one is tailoring controls to plans and positions. Then tailoring controls to individual managers. Making sure the control point up expectations at critical points. Fourth is objectivity of control, economical control, flexibility of controls, then fitting the system of control to the organizational culture, and the last is control should lead to corrective action. So there are 8 requirements. So let us see what each one means. The first one is tailoring control or setting control to various plans and positions. Tailoring means you have to shape the control pattern according to the situation. You cannot follow the same control to all scenarios. If your department is production department and you are applying a control, okay, that same control technique cannot be implemented in maintenance department or in marketing department. So you will have to prepare the control technique based on the nature and the needs of the job and the area to be controlled. So you cannot apply the same control technique to, if you want to control a supervisor, you will use a control technique. You cannot use that same control technique to control a vice president. Depending on the positions, you will have to tailor different control techniques. Second is tailoring controls to individual managers. So managers are different. They have their own outlook, their own ideas. Okay, so one manager will be controlling in one way, another will be controlling in another way, but the basic functioning will be almost same, but the way they will be implementing will be slightly different based on the individual. So each individual will have their own method of implementing control. That will be there. So control system is intended to help individual managers to carry out their function of control. So the control system shouldn't be standardized. All managers should follow a particular technique. No. There should be slight flexibility so that each manager, according to their liking, they can choose the control technique. Making sure the control point of expectations at critical points. So so this is also a valid requirement, that is, whenever a manager is controlling, he should focus on the most critical points. There will be critical points and there will be light points. Even if we avoid the light points also, there won't be much problem in the final output. But if we avoid critical points, it might lead to some kind of catastrophe. So it is the responsibility of managers to control the entire thing, but his main focus should be on the critical points rather than on the soft points. So that is this point, so that more time of the manager can be utilized for the critical area. Next is objectivity of control. A control system would be effective only when it's not influenced by emotions or personal feelings. So this is also another requirement for effective control, that is, whenever a manager is controlling, once he fixes his controlling technique, he has to follow it no matter who the employee is. If an employee comes and tell you, oh, this is my situation, and he starts, shows all kinds of emotions or his personal feelings, the manager shouldn't fluctuate. He should respect his feelings and all, that is true, but then final decision should be unbiased and accurate. Okay, so control should be accurate and unbiased. That is also another requirement of effective control. Next is economical controls. The control should be economic. Okay, Control techniques are most effective when they achieve maximum output at minimum cost. So we need not apply lot of control and having to get less output. No, we should apply less control and you should get maximum output. That should be our motto. Okay, always any organization's motive will be, use the needed raw materials, needed human resources. Okay, use the raw materials and human resources effectively. Don't misuse those things, and you have to have maximum output. So similarly in this case also, whenever you are applying control techniques, you need not have to waste the controlling, over controlling, no need of that. Apply the right amount of control so that you are not wasting the total pressure or the total you need not have to spend lot of time on over controlling. Whatever is needed, you just control only that much. Next is flexibility of controls. Its competitive, technological and other environmental changes force organizations to change their plans. So it must be flexible enough to adjust to adverse changes or to take advantage of new opportunities. Okay, sometimes we have already fixed, just imagine that we have fixed a control technique and we are following a control technique, and after some time what happens, there is some kind of environmental change in our organization. Maybe our top management, there is some change in the positioning of the top management, or there are some changes in some strike or something is happening, or any kind of environmental change happening. So whenever such situations happen, you should be flexible. According to the change, you should change your controls so that it will not have any kind of adverse effect on the controlling. Okay, for example, if a person who is working under you and he is supposed to manufacture 50 units of a particular item, and due to the technical problem of the equipment he is using to make the product, he couldn't manufacture. So whenever you are writing a performance report, you should be favorable to him. It is not because of his irresponsibility or something that he couldn't complete. It's because of the technical problem of the equipment. So that you should consider. So according to the situation, you should change the control technique. Next is fitting the system of control to the organizational culture. So whatever control you are choosing, it should fit to the existing organizational culture. Every organization will have a culture. For example, in some organizations, employees will have a good voice in all decisions. Whatever decisions management is taking, employees will also be a part of that. They will be given apt positioning so that they can also give their suggestions to the employers. But in some other organizations, the employees will not have any voice over there. Whatever decisions are taken, it will be purely on the basis of management's liking. So they will not have any involvement. So there are different organizational culture in different organizations. So what is your culture in your organization? The control technique you are choosing should be fitting, or it should match with the organization culture. Otherwise what happens, the control technique will not give you the proper result. For example, if an organization has culture is less involvement of employees in decision making, an organization with less involvement of employees in decision making, and you are applying soft control system, very soft. Okay, so there are tight control system and soft control system. A soft control system means you are not, you'll be very flexible and all, you will not, take any harsh step while controlling and all. But that won't produce much of a result, because already the employees doesn't have much involvement in any decision making. So in such a situation, if a soft control system is applied also, there won't be much result. And similarly, in case of high involvement organization, where employees are given high involvement in decision making, and they are so involved in all the decision making, and finally you are applying tight control system. So the employees are not used to such control of too much control over them. So what happened? It will produce negative effect. So based on the organization culture, you should choose a particular control technique. Control should lead to corrective action. So finally, what is the goal of controlling? The controlling goal is to implement the plan in such a way that whatever is your objective, your output will match with your objective. That is your main criteria, or that is why you control. So while you are controlling, if you find out there are some problems, your output is not so good as expected, you have to identify where the problem is. Is the problem with the person who is involved, or is the problem with the environment? Whatever is the problem, you should specifically identify the problem area and find out a solution to that situation. Okay, point out what corrective actions are needed to keep actual performance in line with planned performance. You have to find the correct place or area where we should apply the corrective action. So these are the main requirements for effective control. So we have learned about the different types of controls available, what is the advantage of one over the other, and then we have seen how what are the different requirements of effective control. So with that, I am concluding this session. I'll continue controlling in the next session. Thank you.